Vaibhava, sorry.
Oh, yes, I'm the great pretender.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please so my own obeisances.
Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances of Guru Prabhupada. Can't hear you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, muted.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. But Maharaj is muted.
Yeah.
What are the other members? Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Okay, Maharaj.
Where are the rest of the members?
You said what?
I said, where are the rest of the members? This 12 after 12.
Well, I don't know.
priyo priya karo nirma pujitam Chai Kanra Kripa Bharau.
Okay, Haribol. Shivas just called me with a big headache, so I had to spend a few minutes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So,
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
yeah.
So we can start, Maharaj.
Yeah. I think that we're starting on second canto, chapter 4. Is that right? We finished chapter 3 for sure.
Okay.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 4 is the process of creation. Preliminary self-study. Now, hopefully you've done this already. Explain why the word satim applies to Maharaj Pariksha. That's the first verse of chapter 1. Autoraya satim vyada. Satim means chaste, like sati, faithful wife, but faithful disciple should be also applied to disciples. That means very chaste. Okay, somebody answered this question. I'll read the question and one of you volunteer. Explain how Maharaj Parikshit was able to give up all family attachments and the regulated activities of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. 3 verses.
Just to read something.
Verses 2 till 4. We'll try to explain it, without just reading it.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Okay. Without reading it, from my understanding, when Maharaj Parikshit was that he has only a week to live, so immediately he left the palace, and then he put his son in charge. Then he went to the bank of River Yamuna, where he tried to fast. And from there, Srila Goswami came, and that's it. They gathered around to a transcendental discussion. So like this, was able to give up family attachments and the regulative activities of religion, economic development, and then detach himself from sense gratification. That's our understanding about how he went about it.
So what was it that enabled him to be able to give up all those things?
So he was able to give up because he knows he has to prepare himself for his life, and because he was.
It's in the first verse of the first line of verse number 2. It gives the reason. It's a very important sentence because that's what we're trying to do. You got the verse 2. As a result of wholehearted attraction for Lord Krishna, he can give up these things.
Okay.
That's the secret. In order to become detached, you have to be attached to something else, right?
Yes.
It's just like if you're taking a step, you have to have someplace to put your foot, before you can lift your back foot up, you have to have a place to put the front foot. It's a very important concept. That's why we just encourage, chant the holy name, read the Bhagavatam, because people will become attached to chanting, they'll become attached to prasadam, they'll become attached to association with devotees or whatever, and then they can easily give up the bad habits. Otherwise, it's very difficult to give up meat. We're not even asking people to give up their family and all, just to give up intoxication and meat eating and gambling. But even that's very difficult because they have nothing else to be attached to. Why does Maharaj Bricket ask about the process of creation? Now that's an interesting question. So I would be interested to hear. You can open a book and look, it's 5, 6 verses, 6 through 10. He asks many questions.
What chapter, Maharaj?
Chapter 4.
Chapter 6 through 10, verse 6 through 10. Now we're getting everybody there.
Verse 6.
Text 6.
It says in verse 4, he fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna. And then he asked all these questions. Very long purports, obviously very, very important. Go in this purport here for chapter 3 and 4 first, because these are some very wonderful slokas from Madhavendra Puri. It's in the purport to 3 and 4. Chapter 4, verse 3 and 4. You find it? Anybody find it?
Yes. Prayer or
Just read the English. Oh, my evening prayer.
okay. Just a minute. The 3 hours.
What verse are you asking us to read, Maharaj?
It's in the purport
Text 3 and 4.
of text 3 and 4. And it's prayers by Madhavendra Puri. The first one starts, oh, my evening bath.
This one. In text 3 and 4. Is it the translation? Oh, great Jesus, my
It's very long
that-
purport.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, the purport.
What are you looking for in the purport, Maharaj?
I told you. It says, there's, toward the end, it says there's prayers by Madhavendra Puri.
Okay.
Oh, my evening prayer, all good unto you.
Who is it, Maharaj?
Yeah, okay. We should read it, Maharaj.
Yeah, you read it.
It's about the last. Okay. Oh, my evening prayer, all good unto you. Oh, my morning birth, I bid you goodbye. Oh, demigods and forefathers, please excuse me. I'm unable to perform any more offering for your pleasures. Now I've decided to free myself from all reactions of sins simply by remembering everywhere,
Anywhere and everywhere.
anywhere and everywhere, the great descendants of Yadu and the great enemy of Lord Kamsa, that is Lord Krishna. I think this is sufficient for me. So what is the use of further endeavors?
Okay, very nice, huh? So evening prayer, morning bath, these are hard and fast rules, you know, but one can renounce this Brahminical rules and regulations if you surrender fully to Krishna. Not that he's not doing it, but he's not doing these things in a ritualistic, you know, way, thinking that it'll help him. Then there's another prayer, starts with Mugdam Mam. Let the sharp moralist.
Okay. Let the sharp moralist accuse me of being illusion. I do not mind it. Experts in Vedic activities may slander me as being misled. Friends and relatives may call me frustrated. My brothers may call me a fool. The wealth,
Mammonites.
Mammonites may point out as mad. The learned philosopher and the learned philosophers may assert that I am much too proud. Still, my mind does not budge an inch from the determination of serving the lotus feet of Govinda. Though I am able to do it, and also proud and harassed. Religion, technical development, and sense gratification are celebrated as three means of attaining the path of salvation. Of these is Shaye, especially, that is knowledge of the self, knowledge of fruitive acts, and logic, and also politics and economics are different means of livelihood. All these are different subjects of Vedic education, and therefore I consider them temporary engagements. On the other hand, surrendering unto the Supreme Lord Vishnu is a factual gain in life, and I consider it the ultimate truth. The whole matter is concluded in the Bhagavad Gita 2:41, as the others say at Mika Buddhi, or the absolute part of perfection. Sri Baladev Vidya Bhusan, a great Vaishnava scholar, defines this Bhagavad Archana Aika Nice Kamabi Visubhidya Chita, accepting transcendental loving service of the Lord as the supreme duty, free from fruitive reaction. So Maharaj Parishit was perfectly right when he accepted firmly the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, renouncing all karma kandya concept of life. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So let the wealthy Mammonites, you know what a Mammonite is? Anybody know? Somewhere in the Bible it says you can't worship God and Mammon at the same time. A Mammonite means the person who's totally dedicated to getting money. Which is, you know, what modern education is trying to promote. So they glorify all these people that make the most money. They get in the news all the time. They're getting interviewed and they're giving seminars how to get money. How they're enjoying their money, not knowing that they're going to hell. Okay, then go to 6 to 10. Why does Burkett ask about the process of creation? It's a big issue because he asked a lot of questions, and very much of the Bhagavatam is concerned with answering these questions about the creation and demigods. And all
Go and take the key there.
So anybody want to give some idea? If you can find it in the purport, or if you just know, or you just have a feeling.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah,
The reason is was asking because you know that Swami has the knowledge and of inquisitive. Wants to know. So maybe that's part of the reason why.
correct. It's right in the first couple lines of the purport to verse number 6. I'm going to just read that. Somebody can read that?
Okay. Purport. purport. In every inquisitive mind, the important question of creation of the phenomenal world arises. And therefore, for a personality like Maharaj Parikshit, who was to know all activities of the Lord from his spiritual master, such inquiry is not uncommon. For every unknown thing, we have to learn and inquire from a learned personality. The question of creation is also one of such inquiries to be made from the right person. The spiritual master, therefore, must be one who is Sarvajana, as stated herein before in connection with Sukadev Goswami. Thus, all inquiries on God, which are known to the disciple, may be made from the qualified spiritual master. And here, the practical example is said by Maharaj Parikshit. It was, however, already known to Maharaj Parikshit that everything that you see is born out of the energy of the Lord. As we all learn in every beginning of Mahabharata, Jamadi Asya Yata. So Maharaj Parikshit wanted to know the process of creation. The origin of creation was known to him. Otherwise, he would not have inquired how the personality of Godhead, by his different energies, creates this phenomenal world. The common man also knows that the creation is made by some creator and is not created automatically. We have no experience in the practical world that a thing is created automatically. Foolish people say that the creative energy is independent, acts automatically. Electrical energy works, but the intelligent man knows that even electrical energy is generated by an expert engineer in the localized powerhouse, and thus the energy is distributed everywhere under the resident engineer's supervision. The law of supervision is in connection with the creation is mentioned even in the Bhagavad Gita 9:10, and it is clearly said that the material energy is a manifestation of one of such energies of the Supreme. Parasya Shakti Vidaiva Suruyate. An experienced boy may be struck with wonder by seeing the impersonal action of electronics or many other wonderful things controlled by electrical energy. But an experienced man knows that there is a living man behind the action who creates such energy. Similarly, the so-called scholars and philosophers of the world may, by mental speculation, present so many utopian theories about the impersonal creation of the universe. But an intelligent devotee of the Lord, by studying the Bhagavad Gita, can know that behind the creation is the hand of the Supreme Lord. Just as in the generating electrical powerhouse, there is the resident engineer. The research scholar finds out the cause and effect of everything, and the research scholar, as great as Brahma.
Okay, you can stop there. I mean, you see, it's a very, very long. Let's just go through the translations. These are the questions. Chapter, verse number 7. You see, he wants to know these things because it's Krishna's pastimes, for one thing. The material world and the creation, annihilation, it's all Krishna's Leela also. Arjuna wanted to know about it, so he saw the universal form. Bricket is asking, and throughout the Bhagavatam, different sages, the sages were asking, and Navishwaranya asking Sutta. So it's something we should think about. Somebody read verse 7.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yes, can I read? Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Yes. Translation. Can you describe how the Supreme Lord, who is all powerful, engage his different energies and different expansions in maintaining and again winning up the phenomenal world in the supporting spirit of a prayer? Purport.
No, just
In the kata,
someone go to text number 8.
I should go to text number 8. Hare Krishna.
Text number 8.
That's the pressure gauge. It's not working.
O learned Brahman, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all powerful, are all wonderful. They appear inconceivable because even great endeavors by many learned scholars are still proved insufficient for understanding them. Purport.
No, leave
Out
the
of-
purport.
Okay.
So there's a word in there, Adbhuta, that like we read, and then we sing Adbhuta Singha about Lord Nrsimhadev.
Okay.
Very great lion. Adbhuta means very, very great. So it's very great and inconceivable. Even these pastimes of creation and annihilation and maintenance are totally inconceivable to us. What to speak of Krishna's, really internal evils. But in order to know Krishna and appreciate Krishna, we need to know these things. And it's fascinating, just like a child, at some point, you find out what your father does at work and you become maybe interested. What do you do at work? The father becomes something more than someone who just plays with you. When you realize that he's doing other things. So something like that, Narada is also wondering. Go to text number 9.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, text 9. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one. Whether he alone acts with the mode of material nature or simultaneously expand in many forms or expand collectively to direct the mode of nature. Hare
So
Krishna.
he's always the same person. All these expansions, they're not separate. They are separate. They're separate and non-separate at the same time. That's another mystery of Krishna. Text number 10. Oh, that's one we just read. Read the purport for that one. And that'll summarize up the whole point. No, 10. Now we're reading 10. Kindly clear up these doubtful inquiries, because you are not only vastly learned in Vedic literature and self-realized in transcendence, but are also a great devotee of the Lord and are as good as the personality of Godhead. That's humble inquiries. Purport. Who will read the purport?
Okay. Hare Krishna Maharaj. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Govinda, the personality of Godhead, although one without a second, is infallibly expanded by innumerable forms, none different from one another. And although he is the original person, he is still ever young with permanent youthful energy. It is very difficult to be known simply by learning the transcendental science of the Vedas, but is very easily realized by its pure devotees. The expansion of different forms of the Lord, as from Krishna to Baladev, to Sankirtan, from Sankirtan to Vasudev, from Vasudev to Aniruddha, and from Aniruddha to Pradyumna, and then again to second Sankirtan, and from him to the Narayan Purusavatars, and innumerable other forms, which are compared to the constant flowing of the uncountable waves of a river, are all one and the same. They are like lamps of equal power, which kindle from one lamp to another. That is the transcendental potency of the Lord. The Vedas say that he is so complete that even though the whole complete identity is emanated from him, he still remains the same complete whole. Punasya punam adaya punam vavasisyate. As such, there is no validity in a material conception of the Lord by the mental speculators. Thus, it remains always a mystery for the mundane scholar, even if he is vastly learned in Greek literatures. Visidu labam adu labam asam bhakto. Therefore, the Lord is the limit of conception of mundane learned scholars, philosophers, or scientists. Is easily understandable by the pure devotional, the pure devotee, because the Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita that after surpassing the stage of knowledge, when one is able to be engaged in the divine service of the Lord, then only can one know the true nature of the Lord. That is Bhagavad Gita 1852. No one can have any clear conception of the Lord or his holy name, form, attributes, pastime, etc., unless one is engaged in the transcendental loving service. The statement of the Bhagavad Gita that one must first of all surrender unto the Lord, being freed from all other engagements, means that one must become a pure unconditional devotee of the Lord. Only then can one know him by the strength of devotional service. Mara Parishit admitted in the previous verse that the Lord is inconceivable even for the greatest learned scholars. Why then should he again request Sukadev Goswami to clarify his insufficient knowledge about the Lord? The reason is clear. Sukadev Goswami was not only vastly learned in the Vedic literatures, but he was also a great self-realized soul and a powerful devotee of the Lord. A powerful devotee of the Lord is by the grace of the Lord, more than the Lord himself. The personality of God, Sri Ramachandra, attempted to bridge the Indian Ocean to reach the island of Lanka, but Sri Hanumanji, the unalloyed devotee of the personality of God, could cross the ocean simply by jumping over it. The Lord is so merciful upon his pure devotee that he presents his beloved devotee as more powerful than himself. The Lord expressed himself to be unable to save Devasi Muni, although the Muni was so powerful that he could reach the Lord directly in these material conditions. But Devasi Muni was saved by Maharaj Ambarisa, a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, a devotee of the Lord is not only more powerful than the Lord, but also worship of the devotee is considered more effective than direct worship of the Lord. Man Bhakta Ujavi Ya Ika. The conclusion is therefore that a serious devotee must first approach his spiritual master who is not only well versed in the Vedic literature, but is also a great devotee with factual realization of the Lord and his different energies. Without the help of such a devotee, spiritual master, no one can make progress in the transcendental science of the Lord. And a bona fide spiritual master like Sukadev Goswami does not speak about the Lord only in the matter of his internal potencies, but also explains how he associates with his external potencies. The Lord's pastimes in the internal potencies are displayed in his activities in Vrindavan, but his external potential works are directed in his features of Karanarajanasvasi Vishnu, Gabodaka Sai Vishnu, and Shirodaka Shai Vishnu. Srila Visvanatha Chakravarti offers his good counsel to the interested Vaishnavas when he says that they should not only be interested to hear about the Lord's activities like Rasa Lila, etc., but that they must be keenly interested in his pastimes, in his features of the Purusha avatars, in connection with Srishti Tattva, creational function, following the examples of Mara Parishi, the ideal disciple, and Sukadev Goswami, the ideal spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
Okay, this last sentence is very important, which is again, the first sentence in chapter 5 or 6 was saying, and then here the summarizing it up. So read that again, starting with Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti.
Okay. From where? Okay. Is it from the Lord's pastimes in the internal potency are displayed in his activities in Vrindavan, but his external potential works are directed in his features of Vasai Vishnu, Gabodaka Sai Vishnu, and Shirodaka Sai Vishnu. Srila Visvanatha Chakravarti offers his good counsel to the interested Vaishnava when he says that they should not only be interested to hear about the Lord's activities like Rasa Lila, but that they must be keenly interested in his pastimes, in his features of the Purusha avatars, in connection with Srishti Tattva, creational features, functions, following the examples of Mara Parishit, the ideal disciple, and Sukadev Goswami, the ideal spiritual master.
Yeah. Analogies. Okay, I think just read through those analogies first and then see if you want to comment. And I'll be right back. The 3 analogies and 3 different devotees read.
Okay.
Srimad Bhagavatam 245. When a hungry man is given food to eat, he feels satiation of hunger and the pleasure of dining simultaneously. Thus, he does not have to ask whether he has actually been fed or not. The crucial test of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should get positive enlightenment by such an act.
Srimad Bhagavatam 246. The common man also knows that the creation is made by some creator and is not created automatically. We have no experience in the practical world that the thing is created automatically. Foolish people say that the creative energy is independent and acts automatically, as electrical energy works. But the intelligent man knows that even the electrical energy is generated by an expert engineer in the localized powerhouse.
Yes, the expansions of different forms of the Lord, as from Lord as from Krishna to Baladev to Sankasana. There are innumerable other forms which are compelled to the constant flowing of the uncountable waves of a river, are all one and the same. They are like lands of equal power, which can candle from one lamp to another. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So wait for Maharaj to come.
So Prabhu, sorry, God. Last week Sunday, what happened?
The timing was not
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
At that time, and then there was some other engagement on the platform. So
It's on the platform. I'll connected, but I can understand because of the time and then services.
yeah, the time we were looking at Maharaj coming, there was another program on the platform. So, and then Maharaj said he cannot do it after that time. So we have to postpone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
When are we doing tomorrow?
I'm waiting to hear from Maharaj and
Okay. And the person in charge of the platform also. So that we avoid overlapping programs.
it's because of the changing of Maharaj's
Yeah.
Maharaj's changing of movement.
Yeah.
नवगौरवरं नवपुष्पसरं नवभावधरं नवलस्यपरं नवहास्यकरं नववरं प्रणमामि शचीसुत गौरवरं नवगौरवरं नवपुष्पसरं नवभावधरं नवलस्यपरं नवहेमवरं प्रणमामि
Hare Hare.
गौरवरं.
Great song. Anybody know the translation? Okay, any questions about those analogies? Well, we discussed them a lot different times. It's very clear that this is simple philosophical understanding that nothing is by accident. This wonderfully organized, created universe is definitely created by some intelligent designer. It's very interesting how, in the material world, if somebody creates something, he gets glorified. He designs something. But they'll say that the whole creation, which even a tiny part of this Earth planet, is more spectacular than anything that humans have created or designed. They'll say it didn't have a designer. It's a very unbelievable, senseless arguments. Okay, now the overview of the chapter, and that going over the same things again. I'd like to hear everybody say something about it, but read first. Read the verses 1 to 4 of the overview. And it's a good way to, condense, because usually, there's 4 or 5 or sometimes 10 verses, which are just all on one thread. So here, whoever wrote this is picking out the threads. So 1 through 4, somebody read it. I can't see who's there and read at the same time. So Techno Spark. Huh? Or
the screen is too tiny for me.
okay, when we hear it clearly, if you read, some people, they don't have a good connection. They can't hear them very good. I can read one. Sutta Goswami describes how Maharaj Bricket, who had a natural attraction for Lord Krishna, fixed his mind upon him with rapt attention, giving up all family attachments and the regular activities of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, after hearing from Sukadeva Goswami. It's quite clear and simple, and we discussed it just a few minutes ago. This point, though, that, we talk about detachment, and sometimes we see devotees, they've been a long time devotees. And apparently doing all right. But then we see all of a sudden they're running off with a woman or, leaving. And devotees will wonder why, even senior devotees will wonder why that happens. Especially new devotees wonder why would they do that. It's because they have not got this natural attraction for Lord Krishna. We have to develop that Krishna is the supreme person and we're persons, and the whole process of Bhakti Yoga is to develop this attachment to Krishna. Ruchi means a taste for chanting and service. Sakti, that means personal attachment to the person, Krishna. Developing a rasa. And we have to be working on that. The holy name is Krishna. The book is Krishna. The deity is Krishna. Even the devotees are Krishna. So we have to become attached. We have to develop deep relationships. Otherwise, the winds of Maya can come and blow us right away. Someone offers a lot of money, just come and work for me for a few months and you will make so much money. Sometimes devotees run away from it. Some young, beautiful girl comes, not even beautiful all the time, but crying and telling you how wonderful you are. And the devotee forgets everything. But if he really attached to Krishna, that won't happen. Text 5 through 10, who can read that?
Maharaj Parishit.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Maharaj Parishit praises Sukadeva Goswami because he's without material contamination and is narrating the topics of the Lord. He then inquires about the personality of Godhead's creative activities by different energies and expansions. He concludes by praising the transcendental activities of the Lord. And Sukadeva Goswami, who, being a great devotee of the Lord, is therefore as good as the personality of Godhead.
All right, any comments?
Okay. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, sir.
When you said the devotee or Sukadeva Goswami is as good as the Lord, it's a bit because I don't know how somebody can know everything. Krishna knows everything, but no other living entity can know everything.
Yeah, a devotee doesn't claim. Prabhupada said, I know what Krishna wants me to know. But the devotee who's representing the Lord, the example, crude example, is that the policeman is as good as the governor. He's as good as the policeman that you meet on the street is as good as the chief of police or the judge because he represents them.
Okay.
So the spiritual master is as good as Krishna because he's representing Krishna and Krishna empowers him. So you'll get from the Guru what Krishna wants you to get.
And in addition to that, what I'm saying here also is that Sukadeva Goswami is praised. It is praised like that because he is without material contamination. Just like the Lord is without material contamination, the pure devotee is also without material contamination. Therefore, he can describe the activities of the Lord very free from personal tinge, very free from any kind of selfish motives, therefore transcendentally. So the pure devotee is as good as the Lord because both the Lord and the pure devotees are free from the influence of material contamination. Niriguna.
That's right.
I see things clearly.
Saksadhari Chaina Samasta Shastra. It's not that he is Krishna or he's the same as Krishna, but he's as good as Krishna for us to learn about Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
And has made that arrangement. All right, and then there's a summary of 11 through 25. Now those are the prayers of Sukadeva Goswami. So it would be very nice to read through those. Then he begins to describe the conversation between Narada Muni and Lord Brahma, which is starting to answer all the questions. I think it would do us a good to read those verses. 11 through 25, that's a lot of verses. But if we just don't read the purport, we want to just get the flow. So we, go around quickly from one devotee to the next, reading one verse, one verse, one verse. Salika, you there? Make an order, who will read, and then we'll just go around and around. What order will they read in? What I see on my screen, is Salika, and then Madhavan, then Techno Spark, and then Tamal Krishna, and then Joyti. We can go in that order?
Yeah, 4 and 11. Hare Krishna 4 and 11.
Yeah.
Sutta Goswami said, should I go ahead?
Yeah.
Right.
Hare Krishna, should I go ahead?
Yes, now.
Okay. 4 and 11. Sutta Goswami said, when Sukadeva Goswami was thou requested by the king to describe the creative energies of the personality of Godhead, he then systematically remembered the master, the master of the senses, Sri Krishna, and to reply properly, he spoke thou. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Okay.
Text 12. Okay. Text translation. Sukadev Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, the creation in my world, accepts the three modes of nature, is the complete whole residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable." Krishna.
Okay, very good. So this way we can learn how to pray, you know. Prabhupada always said we should recite the prayers of great devotees. Okay, number 13.
Number 13. I again offer my respectful obeisances unto the form of complete existence and transcendence, who is the liberator of the pious devotees from all distresses and the destroyer of the further advances in atheistic temperament or the non-devotee demons. For the transcendentalists who are situated in the topmost spiritual perfection, he grants their specific destinations.
Okay, very good. 14.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can I read?
Yes, please.
Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him who is the associate of member of the Yadu dynasty and who is always a problem for the non-devotees. He is the supreme enjoyer of both the material and spiritual worlds. Yet he enjoys his own abode in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable.
Here's glorifying Krishna before he starts to speak, which is all right. 15.
Maharaj, can I continue?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Whenever
translation.
there's, you know, if there's nobody speaking, just go ahead.
Okay. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all auspicious Lord Shri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrance, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanses the effect of all sins of the performer.
16.
Yes, 16. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto the all auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, the highly intellectual, simple by surrounding unto his lotus feet, are revealed of all attachment to present and future existence, and without difficulty progress towards spiritual existence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
17.
17.
17
I read
continues.
17.
All right.
I read 17. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto all auspicious Lord Sri Krishna again and again, because the great learned sages, the great performers of charity, the great workers of distinction, the great philosophers and mystics, the great chancers of the Vedic hymns, and the great followers of Vedic principles cannot achieve any fruitful result without dedication of such great qualities to the service of the Lord.
18. Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasa, Abira, Sumba, Yavana, members of the Khalsa races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
That's a very important verse that we hear in Prabhupada purports again and again and again. It's essential for our preaching movement to understand there's nobody that can't be purified by chanting the holy name. Prejudice is there everywhere. In every society, they have some idea of certain people are better, certain people are condemned, certain people are no good, whether it's a different tribe or a different so-called race or a different religion, a different language group. Everybody has this foolishness. So here it's saying there's nobody exempt. The mercy of the Lord is for everyone.
Maharaj, this is one of the memorization verses also.
What?
It is one of the memorization verses.
Okay, number 19.
Can we read the purport, Maharaj?
Yeah, if you want. It's a long one, but it's very wonderful. History,
Yeah.
it's a world lesson of world geography and history. Okay?
Okay.
Read.
Now, one devotee read one paragraph, like Kirata, Huna, each one has its own section, so one by one, read
Okay,
it.
I read it.
And the next one, take up, don't ask, can I read, just start reading.
Okay. Kirata, a province of Old Bharat Vaksha, mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharat. Generally, the Kiratas are known as the Aboriginal tribes of India, and in modern days, the Santal Parganas in Bihar and Chota Nagpur might comprise the old province named Kirata.
The area of East Germany and part of Russia is known as the province of the Hunas. Accordingly, sometimes a kind of hill tribe is known as the Hunas.
You might have heard of, there's a very famous person in history, they made movies about him and everything, Attila the Hun. He was from that area, and he terrorized all of that part of the world for some time. Attila the Hun, they call him. The Hunas. Okay. Andhra.
Andhra, a province in South India, mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata. It is still extant under the same name, Andhra. Hare Krishna.
Andhra Pradesh.
Pulinda.
Mysterious why, but some people thought, well, it's just like, some tribe in Africa will think another tribe is low class, but the other tribe thinks the same way about the other tribe. So there were people that thought Andhrans are low class, but Andhra Pradesh is where the Tirupati is and many old temples, very holy place. But still there's, like, there was a king named Shalya, he was actually a family member of Krishna, but of the Pandavas. But somehow he got that on the side of Duryodhana. And when Krishna told him, you drive the chariot for Karna. And then he told Karna, you stupid, Arjuna is much greater than you. And Karna got really mad. Shalya was the king of Andhra, and he started saying how Andhra people are all low class and meat eaters and rock and roll singers and all kinds of things. So, there's always that kind of, and then Shalya said there's good people and bad people everywhere. You can't say that all the people in Nigeria are bad and all the people in Ghana are good. You can't say all the Hausers are good and the Yoruba are bad or something. But people will say like that, foolish people. We can't even say all Hare Krishnas are good, although they are because they're chanting, but they may not be acting nicely. Okay, Pulinda.
Pulinda, it is mentioned in the Mahabharata Adi Parva 174:38. The inhabitants of the province of the name Pulinda. This country was conquered by Bhimasen and Sahadev. The Greeks are known as Pulindas, and it is mentioned in the Vana Parva of Mahabharata that the non-Vedic race of this part of the world will rule over the world. This Pulinda province was also one of the provinces of Bharata, and the inhabitants were classified amongst the Kshatriya kings. But later on, due to their giving up the Brahmanical culture, they were mentioned as Nilachas, just as those who are not followers of the Islamic culture are called Kafirs. And those who are not followers of the Christian culture are called Athens. Someone should read the next one.
Abhira. This name all appears in the Mahabharata, both in the Sudha Parva and Bhishma Parva. It is mentioned that this province is situated on the river Saraswati in Sindh. The modern Sindh province formerly extended on the other side of the Arabian Sea, and all the inhabitants of that province were known as the Abhiras. They were under the domination of the Maratha Yudhishthira, and according to the statements of Markandeya, the militias of this part of the world will also rule Bharat. Later on, this proved to be true. Later on, this proved true, as it proved in the case of Pulindas. On behalf of the Pulindas, Alexander the Great conquered India. And on behalf of the Abhiras, Muhammad Ghori conquered India. These Abhiras were also formerly Shastras within the Brahmanical culture, but they gave up the connection. But the Shastras, who are afraid of the Parasurama, hid themselves in the coastal hilly region. Later on, hilly regions, inside cave. Later on became known as the Abhiras, and the place they inhabited was known as Abhira Desa. Harikishan.
Sambhas or Kankas. The inhabitant of Kanka province of old Bharat mentioned in the Mahabharata. Yavanas. Yavanas was the name of one of the son of Maharaj Yayati, who was given the part of the world known as the Turkey to rule. Therefore, the Turks are Yavanas due to being descendant of Maharaj Yavana. The Yavanas were therefore Kshatriyas, and later on, by giving up the Brahmanical culture, they become Malecha Yavanas. Description of the Yavanas are in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva 85.34. Another prince called Turvasu was also known as Yavana, and his country was conquered by Sahadeva, one of the Pandavas. The Western Yavanas joined with the Duryodhana in the battle of Kurukshetra under the pressure of Karna. It was also foretold that these Yavanas also would conquer India, and it proved to be true.
Yeah, much later. But
Kasa. The inhabitants of the Kasa Desa are mentioned in the Mahabharata, Drona Parva. Those who have a stunted growth of hair on the upper lips are generally called Kasas. As such, the Kasa are the Mongolians, the Chinese, and others who are so designated. The above mentioned historical names are different nations of the world. Even those who are constantly engaged in sinful acts are all corrigible to the standard of perfect human beings if they take shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Jesus Christ and Muhammad, two powerful devotees of the Lord, have done tremendous service on behalf of the Lord on the surface of the globe. And from the version of Sukadev Goswami, it appears that instead of running a godless civilization in the present context of the world situation, if the leadership of world affairs is entrusted to the devotees of the Lord, for which a worldwide organization under the name and style of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has already been started, then by the grace of the Almighty Lord, there can be a thorough change of heart in human beings all over the world, because the devotees of the Lord are able authorities to effect such a change by purifying the dust-worn minds of the people in general. The politicians of the world may remain in their respective positions because the pure devotees of the Lord are not interested in political leadership or diplomatic implications. The devotees are interested only in seeing that the people in general are not misguided by political propaganda, and in seeing that the valuable life of a human being is not spoiled in following a type of civilization which is ultimately doomed. If the politicians, therefore, will be guided by the good counsel of the devotees, then certainly there will be a great change in the world situation by the purifying propaganda of the devotees, as shown by Lord Chaitanya. As Sukadev Goswami began his prayer by discussing the word Yat Kirtanam, so also Lord Chaitanya recommended that simply by glorifying the Lord's holy name, a tremendous change of heart can take place by which the complete misunderstanding between the human nations created by politicians can at once be extinguished. And after the extinction of the fire of misunderstanding, other profits will follow. The destination is to go back home, back to Godhead, as we have several times discussed in these pages. According to the cult of devotion, generally known as the Vaishnava cult, there is no bar against anyone's advancing in the matter of God civilization. A Vaishnava is powerful enough to turn into a Vaishnava. Even the Kirata, etc., as above mentioned. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:32, it is said by the Lord that there is no bar to becoming a devotee of the Lord, even for those who are low-born or women, Sudras or Vaishyas. And by becoming a devotee, everyone is eligible to return home back to Godhead. The only qualification is that one takes shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord, who has thorough knowledge in the transcendental science of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyone from any part of the world who becomes well conversant in the science of Krishna becomes a pure devotee and a spiritual master for the general mass of people, and may reclaim them by purification of acts. Though a person be even the most sinful man, he can at once be purified by systematic contact with a pure Vaishnava. A Vaishnava, therefore, can accept a bona fide disciple from any part of the world without any consideration of caste and creed, and promote relative principles economic revolution. Without any reference to the particular custom of a country, one can be accepted to the Vaishnava cult spiritually, and there is no hindrance in the transcendental process. So, by the order of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the cult of Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita can be preached all over the world, reclaiming all persons willing to accept the transcendental cult. Such cultural propaganda by the devotees will certainly be accepted by all persons reasonable or the deity of the Lord in the temple as an idol. Huh?
Your voice is breaking.
And to remove all doubts in this connection, Srila Sukadev Goswami has invoked the blessings of the Lord, who is all powerful. That is Namaha.
The conclusion is that the Lord, being all powerful, can under any and every circumstance accept anyone from any part of the world, either personally or through his bona fide manifestation as a spiritual master. There's an explanation of the previous comment. Lord Chaitanya accepted many devotees from the communities other than the Varnashramites, and he himself declared to teach us that he does not belong to any caste or social order of life, but that he is the eternal servant of the Lord who maintains the damsels of Vrindavan. Chaitanya Charitamrita 1380. That's the Das Anudas. I'm the servant of the servant of the servant. Okay, so let's go on to text 19. Any comments on that? I mean, we're all, we're in the category, especially Americans, in the category of Yay Chapapa and the Pasha. People have taken shelter of all sinful activities. And the founders of America, many of them were running away from Europe because they were considered low class by somebody else because of just different religions. People were so bodily conscious and foolish. And that's why it was founded on so much freedom, because there was no freedom of religion in Europe. It was all control. Okay, number 19.
Hare Maharaj, I want to ask a question.
Okay.
Yeah, in the reading of all of these purport, one thing comes very clear, that the in the face of all of these difficulties that are manifesting in the age, the spreading of Krishna consciousness seems to be the only solution. But when we look at the expansion of Krishna consciousness globally, in between the time Srila Prabhupada was physically present, Krishna consciousness was expanding like fire. And in the present time, it seems it's difficult to expand the coast of Krishna consciousness, even though individual devotees are trying their best. But it's looking seemingly more difficult to get across to individuals or communities to take to Krishna consciousness. Practically in experience, practical experience in trying to preach, we've talked to so many individuals, communities, government agencies. Some do appreciate, many don't understand it at all. And even the few that understand it, they just see it as a kind of an entertainment. They don't, hardly you see people getting particularly attracted to Krishna consciousness as when Srila Prabhupada was physically present on the planet. So I'm wondering, what is the problem and what is to be done?
Yeah. Well, in one way, is that it is expanding a lot, but not so visibly. But there are more and more people chanting all over the world. There are more people getting the books, hopefully reading them. At least people are, willing to think about it. They're not surrendering, joining up, and that kind of like it was in the early days when everybody joined the temple. It's been a long time and it may never get back to that, but people are joining, they're taking it up seriously, and they're following the principles, and they're chanting in huge numbers. And then it's up to us to find those people and, get them really on the right track, because they may be doing other things also. But this purport, I've read this many times, but it really hit when I read it this time, because that was the mood very strongly, that this movement is meant to take over the world. This is the way things are going to change. So we have to have faith in that, and keep that in mind, that we're not meant to just enjoy being devotees and, live off some donations and give a few talks here and there or something. We're meant to, really keep the nose to the grindstone, they say, keep pushing, because the opposition is Kali Yuga is also growing and getting stronger. But the only cure is the movement, is the chanting of the holy name. So it's never going to be easy. It was never easy for Prabhupada. It wasn't easy in the early days of the movement. We were getting arrested all the time. I heard in West Africa too, when the devotees were first doing Sankirtan, they were getting arrested quite regularly. But devotees they really had faith that this is great, this has saved me and it's going to save everybody. So we got to talk about that. We got to, keep that mood. We get stuck just to maintain, which is a struggle. But Krishna is actually maintaining everything. So when we really surrender to Krishna, then we find everything else just comes. All right? So tune in, tune in on the internet and see how so many devotees are preaching in so many ways, some with thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers, people chanting, people attending Bhagavad Gita classes by the hundreds, online, even by thousands sometimes. from all over the world, not just in India. All right?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna
Yeah.
Maharaj.
Yes, sir.
I also want to add that the environmental forces are changing so rapidly, and therefore, if devotees also strategize, vigorously how to do the preaching, just like how
That's right. We have to always be, that's our business, like in a company, they're always planning how to increase sales, how to improve their product.
yes, we have to strategize on how to do bridge making preaching, to meet the people where they are, based on their own interests, needs, and concern, and gradually guide them into accepting Krishna consciousness. Just as His Grace Gyanana Shashi Prabhu is doing, we have to meditate more on bridge making type of preaching. This man.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. The point is, just add Krishna. That's our, to whoever we preach to, just add Krishna to your life. You don't have to take out anything, just add Krishna. Somehow have kirtan programs. We have to get out, those of us who know it, get out, make ourselves visible, meet people, and chant the holy name. Give them books, and ideally prasadam. Very good. Just, we talk about that, and we also need to do what our guru wants, and is grow our own food. That's also big preaching. If we're a community that everybody gets together and works on helping the farming and grow all our own food, that's very big preaching. That will attract people like anything. Harinama eva kevalam. It doesn't mean just, the Harinam, what we call Harinam, just chanting in the street. It means chanting the holy name anywhere and everywhere. All right, let's finish this up. We still have 6 verses. And these are incredible verses, and every one of them is worthy of a few weeks seminar or something. But it would take, The Bhagavatam can be stated in a few words, and it can be stated in hundreds of millions of slokas. Conclusion, the Siddhanta. I'll read one, number 19.
He is the super soul and the supreme Lord of all self-realized souls. He is the personification of the Vedas, religious scriptures, and austerities. He is worshipped by Lord Brahma and Shiva, and all those who are transcendental to all pretensions. Being so revered with awe and veneration, may that supreme absolute be pleased with me.
Very good. So that's just glorifying Krishna. If people want to know who is Krishna, there's so many different ways we can describe Krishna. Different people can understand it in different ways. There's a very nice analogy. It says a young boy asked his father, "How big is God?" Can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj.
So the father looked up, and there was an airplane. He said, "How big is that airplane?" And the boy said, "It's very small," because it was so far away. Then he took the boy to the airport, where they were right near the airplane, and he said, "How big is that airplane?" He said, "Wow, it's huge. It's inconceivable how big these new airplanes are." So the father said, that's the same with God. It depends on how close you are to him. You know, Krishna is very near and he's very far away. So we want to bring him near to the people so they can see something of him. They can, you know, see devotees being very, very happy, not worried about anything, just depending on Krishna, but busy, not laying around crying, waiting for handouts, but busy farming, busy preaching. Okay, here's a very nice verse 20. Shiyapatir, Yagapatir, Prajapati, Diyampatir, Lokapati, Dharapati, Patir Gatis, Chandaka Vishni Satam, Prasidatam Me Bhagavan Satam Pati. May Lord Sri Krishna, who is the worshipful Lord of all devotees, the protector, and glory of all the kings of Andaka and Vrishni in the Yadu dynasty, the husband of all goddesses of fortune, the director of all sacrifices, and therefore the leader of all living entities, the controller of all intelligence, the proprietor of all planets, spiritual and material, and the supreme incarnation on the earth, the supreme all in all, be merciful to me. Someone read the purport? Looks like important.
It's a long purport. It's a very long purport.
Oh, we don't want to read it.
Maharaj, can I read?
You read the first paragraph and the last paragraph.
Hare Krishna. Since Sukadeva Goswami is one of the prominent Gata Velas, Likas, who is freed from all misconceptions, he therefore expresses his own realized perception of Lord Shri Krishna as being the sum total of perfection, of all perfection, the personality of Godhead. Everyone is seeking a favor of goddess of fortune, but people do not know that Lord Shri Krishna is a beloved husband of all goddesses of fortune. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord, in his transcendental abode Goloka Vrindavana, is accustomed to herding the Surabhi cow, and it is served there by hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune. All these goddesses of fortune are manifestations of his transcendental pleasure potency, Haladini Sakti, in his eternal energy. And when the Lord manifested himself on this earth, he partially displayed the activities of his pleasure potency in his Rasa Leela, just to attract the conditioned souls who are all after the Pantasa Morgia, pleasure potency in degraded sex enjoyment. The pure devotee of the Lord, like Shukadeva Goswami, who was completely detached from the abominable sex life of the material world, discussed this act of the Lord pleasure potency, certainly not in the relation to sex, but to relish a transcendental test inconceivable to the mundaners who are after sex life. Sex life is the mundane world, is the root cause of being conditioned by the shackle of illusion. And certainly Sukadeva Goswami was never interested in the sex life of the mundane world, nor does the manifestation of the Lord's pleasure potency have any connection with such degraded thing. Lord Chaitanya was a strict sannyasi, so much so that he did not allow any woman to come near him. not even a bow down and offer respects. He never even heard the prayer of the Devadasi offered in the temple of Jagannath, because the sannyasis is forbidden to hear song sung by the fair sex. Yet, even in the rigid position of sannyasi, he recommended the mode of worship preferred by the gopis of Vrindavana as the topmost loving service possible to the rendered to the Lord. And Srimati Radharani is the principal head of all such goddesses of fortune. And therefore, she is a pleasure counterpart of the Lord, and it is non-different from Krishna. Maharaj, should I continue or I should read the last paragraph?
Yeah, go to the last paragraph. Sorry.
Okay, Maharaj. Last paragraph. All these qualifications are the different types of pati mentioned in this verse are meant for Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna. And Shukadeva Goswami has therefore especially mentioned the pati and gati of the Yadu dynasty. The member of Yadu dynasty knew that Lord Sri Krishna is everything, and all of them intended to return to the Lord Krishna after he had finished his transcendental pastime on the earth. The Yadu dynasty was annihilated by the will of Lord because its member had to return home with the Lord. The annihilation of the Yadu dynasty was material show created by the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, the Lord and the members of Yadu dynasty are all eternal associates. The Lord is therefore the guide of all devotees, and as such, Sukadev Goswami offered him due respect with love-laden feelings. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Very good. Okay. You see how amazing this Prabhupada is to write all this. He's not translating, he's composing this, but he said that Krishna is just dictating and he's just, Krishna is speaking through him. Like a ghostly haunted person we see sometimes, madman, someone else is talking through them. So Prabhupada, because it's transparent via medium, Krishna is speaking right through him to us. Give us, exactly what we need at exactly the right time. Okay, let's go to the next verse, 21.
Maharaj, can I read?
Please.
Translation.
It is personally of God.
Okay.
It is the personality of God, Sri Krishna, who gives liberation by thinking of his lotus feet at every second, following the footsteps of authorities. The devotees in trance can see the absolute.
We lost your sound.
Truth. The learned mental speculators, however, think of him.
May the Lord be pleased with me. Very good. Okay, and 22. May the Lord, who in the beginning of the creation amplified the potent knowledge of Brahma from within his heart and inspired him with full knowledge of creation and of his own self, and who appeared to be generated from the mouth of Brahma, be pleased with me. Okay, who will read 23?
23, may the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who enliven the material creation bodies of the element by lying down within the universe, and who in his Purusha incarnation calls the living entity, the living being, to be subjected to the 16 diversions of material mode, which are his generator. Be pleased to decorate my statement. Hare Krishna.
These prayers would be very good anytime we are called on to speak, to go over these prayers. Because he's praying for help. Here he's saying, please to decorate my statements. In other words, let me surrender so the Lord can use me to get his message across. It's not by our scholarship or anything that we're going to be able to touch the hearts of people, but it's when we open our heart and let Krishna work through us by the mercy of spiritual master. Namastasmai Bhagavate Vasudevaya Vedase Prapur Gyanam Niyam Somya Yan Mukam Savam. I offer my respectful obeisance to Sri Vasudev, the incarnation of Vasudeva, who compiled the Vedic scriptures. The pure devotees drink up the nectarine transcendental knowledge dropping from his lotus-like mouth in the Lord. Very poetic. And one more verse, and we finish for today. My dear King, Brahma, the firstborn, on being questioned by Narada, exactly apprised him on this subject. We have some interference, as it was directly spoken by the Lord to his own son, who was impregnated with Vedic knowledge from his very birth. Who's making this strange noises?
Yes, from Sarah's cast, please. Sarah can mute. Sarah, you can mute.
Somebody mute your microphone. Okay. If you're the host, you can mute everybody, right? It'd be nice to read this last purport, if we can manage. Because that's a summary of it.
Okay.
It's not a very long purport. Shalika, you can read a little faster than some of the others. So
Okay.
read the purport.
As soon as Brahma was born out of the abdominal lotus petal of Vishnu, he was impregnated with Vedic knowledge, and therefore is known as Vedagava, or a Vedantist from the embryo. Without Vedic knowledge or perfect infallible knowledge, no one can create anything. All scientific knowledge and perfect knowledge are Vedic. One can get all types of information from the Vedas, and as such, Brahma was impregnated with all perfect knowledge so that it was possible for him to create. Thus, Brahma knew the perfect description of creation, as it was exactly apprised to him by the Supreme Lord Hari. Brahma, on being questioned by Narada, told Narada exactly what he had heard directly from the Lord. Narada again exactly told the same thing to Vyasa. Vyasa also told Sukadev exactly what he heard from Narada. And Sukadev was going to repeat the same statement he heard them from Vyasa. That is a way of Vedic understanding. The language of the Vedas can be revealed only by the above-mentioned disciplic succession and not otherwise. There is no use in theories. Knowledge must be factual. There are many things that are complicated, and no one can understand them unless they are explained by one who knows. The Vedic knowledge is also very difficult to know and must be learned by the above-mentioned system. Otherwise, it's not at all understood. Sukadev Goswami therefore prayed for the mercy of the Lord so that he might be able to repeat the very same message that was spoken directly by the Lord to Brahma, or what was directly spoken by Brahma to Narada. Therefore, the statement of creation, which were explained by Sukadev Goswami, are not at all, as the mundaners suggest, theoretically, but they are perfectly correct. One who hears these messages and tries to relate them get perfect information of the material creation. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the second canto, fourth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Process of Creation. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
very good. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Baraka, there's so many noise at your side. There's so many noise.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, we are
Prabhuji,
hearing
now
you
it's
now.
clear.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. I said that I was going to ask my Raj what time is coming in tomorrow, but it just left before I could say that. So we'll try to communicate with him and then communicate through the platform what time we'll be having the class tomorrow. So we should just watch our WhatsApp platform between now and tomorrow morning to get the confirmation of time.
Okay,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you
Hare
very
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Kavicandra, Krishna, 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 Krishna,